It's all different.
It is just like the HubSpot navigation. I don't know about everyone else that has already joined us, but I'm still getting to grips with the new navigation bar, and I'm in it
I
every single day, and I still get confused.
have you set up your bookmarks?
I have set up my bookmarks, which I love.
Bookmarks are the key, and hopefully they'll get more granular. My
Yes.
thing is, I think it's like when you go on holiday and you have to drive a car on the wrong side of the road. Once you get used to it, it does make more sense. And interestingly, I mean, you can't do it now, but I had to go back to the previous navigation, having used this for about a month, and I couldn't find anything on the previous navigation, and it felt clunky. So work with it, I think, is the
It
key
is
for
good.
anybody that's struggling a little bit.
It is really good. So we've got a few people here already. So we'll give it a couple more minutes and wait for those stragglers to come in. Feel free to chat in the chat pane. If you've already got questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A. Yep, and we will keep them in mind as we go through as well. But it is lunchtime, so hopefully we'll let a few more people get their lunches, get their coffees, and then we shall join.
Let's hear about your customer service nightmares and things like that. That'd be interesting.
Oh, any funny stories that you can laugh about now, but were maybe painful when they happened?
If there's enough of those. 25 years ago, I managed a little chef. We had all kinds of fun with customer service there.
Did you have customer service at a little chef?
Yeah, it was central. And what would happen was if you were annoyed, you'd have to write to an address on paper. And that would then be triaged over a period of 4 weeks, sent to the specific restaurant in question. And then the manager would have to write a response. And that response went back to corporate, and corporate would respond to the customer. And it took about 3 months in each case.
Wow. People are giving up by that point.
I think that was the point.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully with all this stuff we're going to look at today, it's fast, it's quick, it's good, it makes people happy.
That's what we're excited about.
My first job straight out of university, 15, 20 years ago, was doing service desk support. So if I had a tool like this in place back then, it would have made my life a lot easier, for sure.
Probably come a long way since then.
Yeah, I'm trying to even remember the name of what we used. Virtual Office, it was called.
Right, we are 3 minutes in, so I think it's time to just dive in. We are recording, so we'll make sure that this is sent out to everybody afterwards, but welcome to our second training webinar. If you missed our first one, I'll send you a link as well. I'll probably be sending a big email at the end with the recording and a bunch of links. But that one was all about the prospecting workspace and how to use it properly. But today is going to be all about the Service Hub and the help desk. So you probably know HubSpot has released a bunch of new changes over the last couple of months, and you wouldn't be alone if you felt a little bit overwhelmed by the tool and how much you can do now, and a bit confused about how you should be using it. So that's what we're going to be covering today. But before we dive in, let me introduce you to my two colleagues. If you've been with us before, you'll have probably met Chris. But Chris, if you could just give us a little brief overview of you and your experience.
I am a consultant at BabelQuest. I implement HubSpot, fix broken HubSpot instances, and generally help businesses get the most out of HubSpot. And part of that is trying to keep up with all the updates and work out how can we use this? What's the use case for all of this? And what sort of things can we do to help people's businesses with a lot of the tools that are coming out?
Perfect.
And I'm just about whelmed as opposed to overwhelmed.
Just about whelmed. And Hannah, this is your first webinar with us. So for those who haven't met you, can you introduce you?
Hi, I'm Hannah, one of two Hannahs at BabelQuest, doing a similar role to Chris. Been with BabelQuest for a couple of years now, and I guess one of the things that I find most exciting about HubSpot is that there's always a way to do something, and often more than one way. And figuring out the best way to do things is well, there's no such thing as a problem, only a solution, and HubSpot gives you solutions and new ones all the time. So yeah, lovely to be here. Thank you.
I really like that actually, because there are so many ways to do things, which I think is part of the reason why people get so overwhelmed, which is what we're going to dive into. So before I hand over, I did mention this before, but a little housekeeping. Chit chat goes in the chat panel, questions in the Q&A. Feel free to ask them as we go along, and I'll interrupt either Chris or Hannah and ask them as we go. But then there is a specific Q&A at the end. We'll probably make references to a few things like our HubSpot hacks and our Service Hub playbook, for example. I'm going to include those in our email that gets sent to you afterwards, so don't worry about that. And I'm going to hand over to Hannah now.
Okay, thanks, Bridget. Let me share my screen. Can you see that?
We can indeed.
Perfect. So the objective of our short session today is to demonstrate to you the benefits of migrating to the HubSpot help desk and help you understand how it may be able to help you streamline your processes. So we're going to dive into a few things, such as migrating from the inbox to the help desk, ticket management, customized team views and pipelines, and SLAs. So HubSpot have made some huge improvements in this area. If you've been using them before, you'll be quite excited to see what you can do now. And routing, as Chris mentioned earlier, how you can ensure tickets are being directed to the correct member of your team, and the new skills-based routing, which is a really exciting new feature. And then finally, we'll talk about some permissions and organization to help ensure that your team only sees information that's relevant to them. So yeah, before we dive into the portal, let's start with HubSpot's vision for help desk. So you might be thinking to yourself, why do we need to understand what the vision is? We just want to know how to use it. But actually, it's quite helpful to be aware of what HubSpot's initial vision was, because knowing what they intended by implementing the help desk brings a bit more clarity around the tools and how they talk to each other and how we're moving forward with the next steps. So HubSpot's vision was to deliver a single workspace that combines the existing strengths of inbox and tickets into a centralized, support-orientated experience. So now we understand what the vision is, what does that really mean for us, the people using it, and people supporting your customers? So the help desk workspace is a central location in your HubSpot account where your team can manage tickets. You can connect various channels such as chat, email, forms, calling, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, and all in the same place. And this is just the current list. You can expect, as with everything HubSpot related, that will increase and there'll be new features coming along in the future. So this basically consolidates everything, all of your support processes into one single workspace. So historically, people have found that navigating ticket and conversation statuses can be quite confusing at times, and this often results in difficulties keeping them in sync. So yeah, other feedback from customers has also shown it can be unclear when to use tickets versus the inbox, and then that makes it difficult to work out which objects and properties you should be using in workflows and reports, and how to pull that data together. So HubSpot has addressed these issues with the help desk by combining the strengths or the superpowers of both of these tools into a single source of truth. And this essentially eliminates the need for you to choose between the inbox and tickets by integrating their best features and simplifying the whole support management process. So in summary, I guess the help desk creates a single source of truth and just one place to combine the best of all of these tools. And now I will hand over to Chris to give you a bit of an overview of the help desk and how it changes the game for your support teams using the help desk. Shall I stop sharing my screen and allow you to?
I will share mine, and I want to share. Oh, this could be fun. Got everything set up in tabs. So we have a screen. And I think from my point of view here, what I really wanted to try and get to with this was giving an idea of the art of the possible, what we can do with the help desk. I think it's a really nice piece of kit. It's basically, as Hannah said, it's that one-stop shop for your your support people to actually just manage all of that customer service and make sure that you're actually delighting your customers, dealing with queries as they come in. A couple of things that I'll touch on today are in beta. We can potentially, Bridget, we can record a video of how to turn on betas for people that are beta tolerant. There's a lot of exciting things that appear in beta, and I will touch on them because I think they're things that are going to be really helpful for everybody. I'm going to go reasonably fast, aiming to show you quite a lot of things here. So if you do have questions, then pop them in the Q&A or in the chat. The Q&A, not the chat. Am I right, Bridget? I don't want to get it wrong.
Questions in the Q&A, chit chat.
Questions in the Q&A, chit chat in the chat. So help desk. The first thing to point out is this is the new navigation, and we've now got this workspaces. This means that, in this case, my salespeople can go straight to prospecting, and my customer service people can go to the help desk to deal with help. There is a customer success workspace in beta as well, which is also very good. But essentially, this is a one-stop shop for all of that customer service. We touched on migration. If you are currently using the inbox, you are going to have to migrate. I think probably the most helpful thing we can do there is make sure that in the follow-up email we're gonna reference the HubSpot knowledge base article about migrating. I say that because we could potentially get on a rabbit hole and go into all kinds of technicalities. So read the article, follow the steps, and do get in touch if you get stuck in any way. So we've got a help desk here, and one of the first things that we're going to need to do is connect our channels. And again, for those of you that are experienced HubSpotters or even people new to the tool, it's nice and easy to do. It's simply a case of connect a channel or move a channel from the inbox, which is your migration option. And we're literally just going through, we're connecting our team email, our forms, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and also the new calling functionality. So all of those things can actually come straight into the help desk, which really is fabulous. So we've also then got things like our chatbots. As an example, we can have our chatbots, and I'm sorry about this. I got really excited by the new HubSpot AI image generation, and I got to write a web page about cheese, and then I've created a cheese chatbot. But we can have our help desk inquiries coming in through here. The beauty of the chatbots is that you can also use the AI to go through your website to get your tone right. We can also connect it to your knowledge base, giving customers the opportunity to self-serve, which I think is really important, because sometimes you will see a lot of the same question, and it might be a question that can just be solved with a very quick email that you have to send to somebody. So if they can self-serve, they're going to be happier, faster, and ultimately that's what we want. Obviously, we can have our customer service forms, and we can use forms to raise tickets. The one thing that I did want to highlight here, which is something I tend to find people aren't aware of, is that we can actually use conditional fields in forms. So I've got a field here, what category does your problem come under? And I've got other. And as soon as I click other, I'm getting an extra field appearing. And I think that's really important to emphasize, because we don't want to be faced by a really long customer service form. It's off-putting. It stops us getting what we want quickly. So consider using conditional fields in your forms so that you can make it shorter and improve the customer experience. Another tip I think that's important to bear in mind with forms is that you've got the option to rename or to write questions that people can see. So in this case, on this form, describe the issue in a short sentence. That actually maps to the ticket name. So we're making it easy for our customers to get what they want. Okay, so we've now had our various channels where people are complaining, or maybe they're happy, but we can go straight into our help desk. And the layout, if you've seen it before, well, the layout is similar to the inbox. But what we can see here is our tickets that are coming in. So we can triage them, we can see where they're coming from, and we can see who's raising the tickets. In this case, we've got somebody called Chris Grant who's raised a lot of tickets. So probably
Very
we need to do something about that.
Unhappy person, that.
He's just cross, just angry about things. But we can also do lots of great stuff here. With our tickets, we've got the option to preview. So actually, from a service point of view, we can pretty much do everything we want to out of here. And it's also worth pointing out that you've got access to all the associated objects. So if, for example, you want to set your service team up with a customer service playbook, then create that playbook, add it in here, and we could make that conditional based on a ticket pipeline. So when you're thinking about how this all goes together, it's well worth thinking about how can we make it really easy for our team to solve customer problems nice and quickly. We can see unassigned tickets that are coming in. We can see our tickets. We can see the rest of our team's tickets. We can see closed tickets. And we've also got the option to mark ourselves as unavailable, which means that tickets will then be routed to a different person. And when I talk about routing, I also want to touch on this. This one's in beta, but skills-based ticket routing, which I think is a really fabulous thing. And let's go to our skills-based routing. So the way that this works is what we can do is create a skill based on a property. So if I go into my manage skills, I can create a user skill. There are some pre-built ones, and I don't know, let's call it best person to handle a ticket. I'm going to save it wherever I put it. Actions. We can then assign that skill to users. We can see who's got that skill. So let's give it to the boss. Hopefully that doesn't mean she'll get tickets routed to her. But we can actually choose the people to assign a particular skill to. We go back to our rule sets, and once we've created those skills and the people, we can create a rule. So we can create a rule that will assign, say it's this one, new rule. And again, the nice thing about HubSpot is it walks you through all of this. And I know we're going quite fast to try and get through a lot of this. We will have Q&A, and you can also get in touch with us on LinkedIn or otherwise, and we can help you with some of these areas. For this rule set, you would build, it could be conditional. So we build our rule set and we add a condition based on particular filters. So for example, if somebody's really angry, then I can assign tickets to the best person, for example, or the best person to handle angry customers. And we can build up these rules as we go. So this is definitely worth doing. Call that angry 2. And now we've got a field on the form, which people can tell us how angry they are. If they're really angry, that ticket will be assigned to the person you think is best placed to deal with an angry customer. And again, it's just that those little tiny things that make it nice to deal with you as an organization, that turn your detractors into people that are really pro you. And certainly, I don't know about anybody else, but one of the things I've always found when dealing with angry customers or being an angry customer is that if my issue is resolved quickly and to my satisfaction, then I'm going to really like that company going forward because they've taken the time to make me feel good. I feel heard. So I think that's a really important thing to think about.
Got a question to ask Chris. So I think this relates back to when we were connecting channels up to the inbox. There was the option to attach email. So somebody's
Mhm.
asked about adding personal emails to that channel. Would you recommend that? I'm going to say no. We wouldn't.
I would say no. And I'll tell you for why. Because I think, especially if you have people that are likely to be away, if you have a customer service email that goes to somebody that's not there and they're on holiday for 2 weeks, then you've probably got a problem. So I would say you're better off, even if it's just going to be 1 or 2 people in that channel, actually having a specific email address connected to that channel.
And I suppose also if it's a personal account, you can see all of the emails that are going into that personal account, which you might not, if you're the boss of that company, you probably don't want everybody to see your emails as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's probably lots of reasons why you're best off not doing that. And I think again, it's creating good data as well, so we can actually see tickets to this inbox are typically dealt with in a certain amount of time, and they can be reassigned, and other people can see them.
Perfect. Cool. So we have done connecting up channels. We've done the routing on the forms. What's up next?
I was going to talk a little bit about some of the. I had this all set up, but it's gone out of order now. So we're going to just move tabs across. Well, let's talk about some of the other nice things that we've got. And one of the things that I like in this is the concept of ticket SLAs. We all have them. Typically, what I tend to find is that everybody should review their customer support SLAs, because often you'll come across people that say, we'll deal with it within 72 hours. For me, I think that's too long, but that comes down to a particular organization. But we can actually create our ticket SLA. So one of the nice things about this is we can create it and then we can report on it. So here we have our set, reply, and close time SLA goals. So what I'm saying here is I want, my first reply to any given issue within 4 hours. I want the next reply within 2 hours, and ideally I want that ticket closed in 40 minutes. And then you've got markers due soon, which is mildly confusing, but it's the amount of time before an SLA is due, changing status to due soon. And this is just a tag that indicates in reporting that there's a ticket that needs to be dealt with. You can do this as well based on a ticket property. So this is quite nice. In this case, with the previous example, we had an SLA for all tickets, but you can also do it by team, by source, by pipeline, and by priority. So if, for example, you've got a team that deal with your high-paying customers and you want to have a faster SLA, then you can choose your team. And here we've got different SLAs set up for different teams. And we can do that with different inboxes as well and different stages of the pipeline. So it's, again, something worth thinking about. Do we need to have different SLAs? And don't make it too complicated, but HubSpot will allow you to report on those.
A question on the SLA. So can you set up notifications so that if an SLA runs over, people are getting notified of that?
Yes.
And something I was just about to say, something we've done internally at BabelQuest is to use ticket tags as well to identify when a ticket is approaching its SLA due date, when it's overdue. And so you've got that visual representation right there on the pipeline to indicate how you're performing against the SLA.
Oh, I like that.
And you can also use, if you've got Slack or Teams integrated, you can use workflow extensions. So you could have a Slack workflow that just reminds somebody that a ticket's overdue. So there is, I think, again, it's a case of just thinking through, almost mapping out that service process and working out what are the key things at each stage that we need to think about. And again, I think mapping these sort of things out really helps if you're going to be putting all this in place and using it. that is our SLAs. In here as well, you've got your ticket defaults, and this is where you can set the properties that that are going to appear on the tickets, and you can also manage some of your other ticketing areas from here. But we've got lots of different pipelines, different ticket statuses, and we can set ticket properties for help desk. Again, this is just simplifying things for the people that are receiving them. They don't necessarily need to see all the properties that you would hold against a ticket. Claim category, let's add that. And so it's really just a case of, there's a lot of stuff in here, and I think it's easy to get as excited as I do about all the new toys, but you almost have to then take a step back and think, how can we use this best to give our customers the best possible experience? Where are we?
And the support work as well, giving them the best experience in terms of only seeing
absolutely true.
Most relevant to them. They're not having things clouded up by tickets that they don't need to look at.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think there's also some there's also some thought to be put in around actually talking to the people that are delivering the tickets and what's going to help them do their job best. I think sometimes you'll see processes like this put in place by people that don't actually deal with the customers, and that is potentially dangerous. So talking to the people that are doing it, how they want to use it, is really, really useful. Right, so next thing we can do is, I've changed something, so it's asking me if I want to save it. I'm going to leave without saving. Is we can look at our ticket sidebar customization. So we can basically just customize what people are seeing. And in this case, we can also use cards. And this is another thing that I'm excited about, which is the card library, and the fact that we can add reports onto our tickets if we want to. Single object reports. Not going to go too much into that because that's a whole another potential webinar. Also worth highlighting that there is a new beta that's just been launched, where you can create a card against, for example, a ticket that allows your team to update properties that are held against a contact. So thinking about some of these things as well can help you just make everything a little bit better. And
that was part of the new setup for this, where you will be customizing the left sidebar, the right sidebar, and the middle column, all from the same place.
All from the same place, yes.
Very exciting.
Also worth pointing out here, so in all cases, we typically in HubSpot, we've got the option to let users customize things. Here, we can stop them doing it. And I think it's worth actually, if it was me, I would turn that off, because having talked to the team about what they would need, I don't then want them moving things around and changing things, because that's gonna harm my data, because I'm not necessarily getting what I want. So I'm gonna exit without saving. A couple more things to talk about on the ticket front. One of them being, transfer this in from over here, pipeline automation. Now this is not in the help desk area, this is the behind the scenes bit. But what we have is the ability to set up, well, we can do lots of different things in here. We can customize our ticket cards. We can create ticket tags, which I think, Hannah, you alluded to earlier, which is basically a visual way of showing the ticket that's late, the ticket that's been sitting there for 3 days. So I'd encourage you all to have a look at that. It's quite a powerful visual thing. But we can also then automate our ticket pipeline. And when you come in here, you'll see you've got templated automation. So, for example, set the close date to today when moving a ticket to closed. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer, but you might want to turn that off. We can also decide what's going to happen when a ticket moves. So again, keeping the customer in the loop. Do we want to send an email to a customer when a ticket reaches a certain stage? And what do we want to do when a customer replies to an email? So those are the sort of basic workflows that you might want to have. You can also then create workflows from scratch. Now, again, as with all automation in HubSpot, you can build it in the workflow builder if you want to build things that are complex. But it may be that you just want to keep it nice and simple and you want to trigger a particular workflow when a ticket reaches closed. What do you want to do? You could send an internal email to the person that's closed the ticket saying, congratulations, well done. You might want to send something to the customer. You might want to update some properties, whatever it happens to be. You can build out the automation. And again, it's worth considering. Do we want to see ticket tags? Maybe a show of hands in the chat.
I think we should, personally. I'm going to be
You think we should?
I think we should.
Okay.
I think so. There are so many ways they can be used as well. So it's worth thinking about whether you want to use them to highlight your SLA or whether you want to use them to identify whether it's in first line, second line, depends how you're using your pipelines. So there is a lot of setup thinking to be had before you dive straight in and decide how to use them.
We've had a few hands up, so I think that's
Have we had some hands? All right. So our ticket tags, again, we get to these by using settings. And again, a nice little feature of HubSpot is if you happen to be in the tickets area of HubSpot, from a user point of view, if you click on settings, you're going to come through to the back end settings specifically for tickets. Same with deals, contacts, etc. So you come through here, we can see ticket tags, and you'll see we've got a couple. To set up a ticket tag, you would click Manage Ticket Tag, and you'll see we've got some examples created already. We'd add a tag, and I'm going to creatively call this a tag. You can add a description, and I think it's worth thinking about adding descriptions for all of these sort of things if you're going to use them, just because you're creating in-portal documentation of what exists. And should you leave and somebody else have to take over, then they can see what everything is. I'm not going to write a description because I don't think anyone wants to see me slowly typing things, but let's say we choose our ticket tag. It's called a tag. We can use emojis, so it could be, happy smiley face, some fire. And we can decide whether our tag works on specific pipelines or all pipelines. Now, a slight caveat here, I'm not sure if this has changed in the last few weeks, but as with deal tags, I think you're restricted to 10 tags across the portal. So if somebody uses 10 tags, then nobody else is going to be able to create tags. And then it's simply a case of adding filters. So again, as with everything in HubSpot, if you build lists or you create filters on reports or anything like this, you'll be familiar with how this works. For those of us that have used HubSpot for a long time, the extra step, we have to click ticket properties in order to get at our ticket properties. But you'll see we've got all of our ticket properties here. So it could be that we're saying if hold reason is, I don't know, sharks. There's some odd stuff in this portal. So if we've got a ticket and it's put on hold and the hold reason is sharks, you'll see here, you get this view in the pipeline, you'll get your tag. And this means generally from a management point of view, if you're reviewing your ticket pipeline and you want to just make sure everything's working, it's a 2-minute job to just have a quick look and see what's going on. Okay, ticket tags. And I think time-wise, we're going pretty well.
So we've done, as a reminder to everyone, SLAs, we've done the form, we've done ticket tags, done the routing. Covered a lot so far. So what else is there left, Chris?
Well, let's just talk about the. I mean, I think these are all these are all things that are baked into Service Hub, which are worth using to set up your help desk and make sure that your team don't have to worry about the behind the scenes bit. So again, we close a ticket, we probably want to find out whether the customer was happy. So, let's use customer feedback. We've got feedback surveys. We can create a survey, and it could be that we just want to send out a standard NPS when a ticket closes. So the NPS, we can't change anything. We're just asking, are they likely to recommend us? And we can decide what's going to go there. It's clicking through. We can also then decide what we're going to do about the feedback. So our promoters, and if you work with British people, I always say have your promoters as being probably 7 to 10 because they're less likely to give you a good score. As we have found, Americans are much more giving with their 9s and 10s. Brits were miserable about it. Set up your survey, and you can then automate it. So create a workflow. Do you want something to happen if somebody's unhappy? So if somebody's a detractor from your survey that's sent out when a ticket closes, maybe you want to alert the head of customer service because you need to have that next level line of support. We can remind people. We can do all sorts of things here. So I think think about things like this. We won't go too deep into the art of surveying, but when a ticket closes, it's definitely worth automating a survey that goes out just to make sure that people are actually happy. And as I say, with NPS, you don't have a lot of control because it's standardized, but you could use a custom survey, or you could use customer loyalty, customer engagement, customer effort. That's the one, isn't it? How hard has it been?
I think you've just answered a question someone's popped up with. So it was, can you send any survey type automatically, or is it just the NPS ones?
We can automate any of the surveys. It's a case of, with some of them, you'd have to create it as an email, and then you'd create a workflow in the workflow builder to send an email based on a ticket reaching a particular stage of the pipeline. And you could get granular. You could branch your workflow and have different surveys going to people based on how happy they are or not. So I think it comes down to what you feel is best. I mean, typically the people would say use a customer effort score for service feedback because we want to know how easy they felt it was to get help and get their issue resolved. I like NPS, but that's just me. I think it's just because it gives a very solid reflection, and it also gives the opportunity to go back to them and ask the question. I think sometimes it's good to have that human touch.
Yes.
And then I think the last bit we want to look at. So one of the other things that we might want to do is reports. We're creating all this data. Our team, if we remember, our team have they've got this lovely help desk, and they don't have to go anywhere else. The tickets are coming in. They're able to preview them, deal with them. The triage is automatic. We're sending out surveys when the ticket's closed. They don't have to go anywhere else, and our customers are able to communicate with us on all the channels that they might use, and they're all going to appear in the same place. So we're going to be able to deal with all of those. But what we are going to want to do is report on it. And one of the things that HubSpot, again, is really, really good at is providing you with the basics that you're going to need. So in this case, if we're looking at dashboards, we've already got an SLA performance overview dashboard. It's built for us, and these are standard HubSpot reports. One of the nice things about this is we're not going to use up our custom reports. Depending on your subscription, you're going to have a certain amount of custom reports in HubSpot that you can use, and we'll often see people building custom reports when they don't need to. In fact, that happens a lot, and we end up having to undo a lot of these reports. But here's a standard dashboard, and it's also telling me what reports it would put on. So average time to first response, average time to close totals, response totals. You can see all of those. And if you don't want one of them, excuse me, then you choose not to have it on that dashboard. I can decide who can see it. So it might be that I'm the customer service manager and I just want to, I want to stop people seeing anything, or I can make it available to the team. It may be that you want a filtered overview dashboard for each team member so they can monitor their own performance. And there we go. There's our dashboard. You know, we can see tickets closed over time. There we go. We can see Hannah's doing a great job closing tickets. No, you're not closing them. You've got overdue tickets. Tut tut. I've closed one within the SLA, and we can see the chatbot is doing a good job. But this just gives you the basic reporting, and for most of you, that's probably going to be enough. But it is also worth pointing out that you can go into the report builder. You can create a single object report on tickets. You can access tickets and support in the custom report builder. So all of this stuff is there for you. And I think my advice is always to just map out that process and then work out which bits, you know, you might not need skills-based routing. You might not need an AI chatbot, but just being aware of all of the sort of things that you can do, I think is really important, because as Hannah and Bridget said at the start, there are lots of different ways to do things in HubSpot, and none of them are necessarily wrong. So being aware of everything, for me, I think it's very important. Mapping out that process will help us understand what we're going to do. So
I think
hopefully,
skills-based routing, Chris, it's worth mentioning that is an enterprise-only feature, I believe.
Okay.
So yeah, not everybody might have access to that, but it's very clever.
Well, I think on that, it's worth mentioning that with the new seats-based pricing, if you're not on the legacy model, you only need to buy one seat of Service Hub Enterprise to get some access to some of those enterprise features.
It's worth doing. We have had, well, first of all, Chris, that was great. I feel like my mind is blown that we went over so much in such a short amount of time, which is great. We had a couple of questions. So back on the tags, the ticket tags, you mentioned the 10, you get 10 tags. Is that across sales?
No,
service,
10 deal tags. Yeah, 10 deal tags and 10 ticket tags. I think, don't quote me on that. We'll make sure of that for you.
Perfect. And then another one, which is a bit of a longer question. So would it be possible to show how to give access to a customer ticket portal? I believe it's possible to send or automate this via adding to a list. So if the ticket category is X, add a contact to a list, then that list should ping the ticket customer portal login details. Is that possible?
So yes, you've got the customer portal functionality as part of Service Hub. I am not going to go too much further into that because I don't like to talk about things that I'm not fully au fait with. But we'll probably connect you with someone on our CMS team that do that sort of thing. But you can actually spin up a customer portal. You can embed forms in there, and they can actually go in, log in, view the progress of their ticket live within the customer portal.
Mm-hmm. So we think so, but we will check and we will send over an email just to be safe on that one. And I don't think we've had any more questions. So if anyone's got any questions, I'll give you a minute. Pop them in the chat. I know that Chris covered a lot. So hopefully we did answer all of your questions as we went along. But if not, I'll give you 30 more seconds. You have to speak now, or ever hold your peace.
I want to see. I'm having a look at the chat now. But interesting. I mean, I think it's just interesting. Are there questions or observations or anything around the customer service process that you struggle with? What are where are the pinch points for your company and what you're trying to do? What's your wish list? I'd love to know more about some of that.
I think everybody always wants to automate things. So it'd be good to know how much people are automating. If you've got anything that you need automated and you don't know how as well, think about that.
I think, yeah, and I think the beauty of this is you can automate a lot of it, but I think it's important to make sure that there are humans involved, because otherwise you just end up with really unhappy customers because they don't like dealing with robots. And I think, interestingly, I think there's probably there's probably a bit of a generational divide with regards to customer service. You know, I'm old and grizzled, and I want to pick up the phone and talk to a human being. I don't want a chatbot. It makes me angry, but I know this.
I want a chatbot.
People. There you go. You see,
and actually,
so
on that note, you can actually divert things from different channels to different people. So if there's somebody who prefers to pick up the phone, then you can have your calling requests coming to those people. Somebody else prefers to respond on WhatsApp or Messenger, then those tickets can be diverted to that particular person. So that's very clever.
That's nice, isn't it? Because you can actually ask somebody, what's your preferred response? How do you want to hear from us? I like that. It's really important to consider all of those sorts of things.
Well, we haven't had any more questions or chat, so I think we're going to call it a day here, everybody. So thank you so much for coming. Hannah and Chris, thank you so much. As we mentioned right at the start, we will send over the recording for you all, and we will also send over the links to any HubSpot hacks we have on the topics that we talked about. We'll also confirm that question that we had about the customer portal, and we'll send over the customer service playbook as well, so that you can all have a read of that. But thank you, Chris and Hannah. That was great.
Thanks, Bridget.
Thank you all. Cheers, folks.